This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.
Air on. Power on.
It's time to take your place on the starting grid and get ready for Racer Radio. Your host, Dave Stahl, about to take you for a white-knuckled lap around the motorsports industry, covering everything from top-notch national drivers and crew chiefs right down to your local kid racers and racetracks. Watch for the apex, because here comes Racer Radio with Dave Stahl.
All right, folks, welcome. This is Racer Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170, The Answer. And we've got Britney Sandoval, number 37 dwarf car racer. She's got her helmet on. She's got her driving suit. She loves the chairs because they remind her of a race car.
They do.
And she would just kill to be behind the wheel right now.
Oh, yes.
This segment is brought to you by the good folks at Barona Circle Track. But who helps them? El Cajon Ford, where nobody, absolutely nobody takes better care of you than El Cajon Ford. Did you know 80% of their trade-ins are customer cars? They don't go to the auction. They send to the auction. If it doesn't meet their standards, it is gone. That's El Cajon Ford. Go to elcajonford.com or El Cajon Motors. All right, we got Dirt Dude on the line. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
I'm hanging there. How about you guys?
I don't know. What drawer are you on now?
Actually, I got a brisket on the barbecue and just looking at my lawn, going to get ready to do some lawn work. But listening to the show as usual, you guys talk about dwarf cars, and it's funny because I've seen all kinds of people in a dwarf car. I've seen guys over 6 foot tall, over 350 pounds, and I've seen, people that are like barely 4 foot, barely 60 pounds in a dwarf car. So it ranges in all different sizes.
And were you going to get one time?
Actually, I helped build a couple. My stepbrother got me into. That's how I kind of started going to Barona, was for dwarf cars. We went up there and started watching dwarf cars, and then we went out to Arizona a couple times, started taking templates, and he built a couple from his garage.
Oh, so he did it from scratch.
Yeah, measured them off from Arizona. Actually, I don't remember the guy that used to build them out there.
Wow.
Big name that was in Arizona, and I can't remember his name right now. Peter.
Don't you hate that? You're not even old.
Yeah, but he hasn't been around here for a while. Peter D. used to build them in Arizona, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got a Peter D chassis? That's the best one to have." And then you start getting into now M&M and B&B, and then everyone else has got a chassis out there. It all depends on your preference.
Yeah, I've heard of Peter D.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah, Peter D, M&M, Triple E, B&B, Hot Rod.
So Dirt Dude, did you have somebody calling in as well?
I didn't, but is there someone calling in?
It would be
Dennis Taylor?
Dennis Taylor.
Are you there? Oh,
he just went off. Golly. Well, anyway.
I was wondering how he's doing. I haven't seen any. I heard from anyone at the track lead. This should have been race number 3, if I remember correctly. It was yesterday, it's still on hold.
No. Now you got her crying.
Good things come to those who wait. That's what I'm trying to tell myself.
Yeah, well, it's not working really well with you. I can tell by that look on your face.
I am chomping at the bit.
Yeah. Well, everybody is.
More time to be advanced on your racing experience because you've had all this time to get your car ready.
Yep.
Is it ready?
Nope.
What do you mean, nope?
Well, I'm thinking of upgrading.
10 people that are like, well, when it gets a little bit closer, we're going to get it ready. I'm like, there's no way to get ready now.
I could race mine right now.
You could.
Yes, but I think I might upgrade to something.
Oh, okay. Well,
Power steering.
Oh, you don't have power steering?
No, I'm one of the last few. I said,
is that why you got those big old guns?
I joined a gym instead.
No.
Yeah.
How hard is it to put power steering on it?
It's like $1,200. I thought it'd be more, so I'm actually excited.
You're doing a whole rack then, right? You're putting a whole rack in?
I haven't gotten that involved yet, Dirt Dude.
Do they allow quickeners in that class, like a steering quickener?
I know that the one I've looked at has like 3 separate ones, but I think you have to decide ahead of time. I don't have experience yet, Dirt Dude. I just know I think I'm one of the few that doesn't have power steering.
She just knows she wants power steering.
I know that the last race I was in, the steering wheel kept getting ripped out of my hands because of the ruts.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're like, well, if you had power steering. And then I tried showing my little guns here, and And people laughed and walked away. But back to Barona, I cannot wait for the announcement that they open.
I know. Does the fact that NASCAR is going to run on the 17th, does that make any difference to Barona or any of the tracks?
It depends on the state. I mean, hey, we're waiting on California state. Like, I just got a text from my barber today that, hey, we're going to start opening our barber shop on the not to the like extreme open, but he goes by next weekend. We're going to be able to do haircuts. So.
That's more good news.
Okay, so
yeah.
Because I'm a vet driver, and I might have a little platinum to be hiding.
Yeah, she's wearing a hat. She's wearing a hat in studio, like somebody's going to see her. But
There's a few of us that look like we're homeless people, with needing a haircut after a while.
Well, I know, and I'm just like Britney, even though I don't get behind the wheel. I want this thing to start so bad. I just want a date. I don't even care if you hit the date. Just tell me a date. Just so I have something to work for.
I think they need to be given a date first.
Pardon?
California needs to give the first date, and then from there.
This state could care less about motorsports, okay?
Well, your next trip coming up, Paris, they've already talked about May, like middle of May, maybe 24th. I think they're talking about open practice.
And Todd talked about it last week, right? Is Cocoa Paw also? Is that where he was going to go and check out?
Yeah. He was going to talk. Yeah. Well, Brittany and I were talking, and if the Salazars are listening, this is not a bad idea. Because we can do social distancing at the track. We can do all kinds of stuff and open the track up for practice. Don't charge the drivers. Have the driver come, and if you want to restrict it to 2 people, 3 people, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. But then, give them an hour to practice, and then when they're not practicing, they work on the track. They work on the roadways, the pit areas,
stands,
painting, whatever the case may be. And then if you broke it down that way, not only would the Salazars get the track all put back into tip-top shape after all this rain, but you'd get some adrenaline,
manpower
out of the systems of these people.
Yeah, because I know there's going to be a lot of prep we need to get done out there. But then it's also like a lot of people haven't practiced, so it's like going to be a few drivers, moving around from different divisions. So they are going to need some time to get used to a new car.
Without a doubt.
Practice is going to be very important for many, like more important maybe.
More
than
important than ever.
In the past.
Ever. Yeah.
Well, the good thing with the practice is you don't have to have a full crew there.
Right.
Like Motorsports Fire and Rescue and ambulance and stuff like that. You just have a minimal staffing and then one car on the track at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and plus, we got to do something. I mean, we just can't keep waiting and wait. I don't want to wait for a vaccine. We haven't got a vaccine for half of the diseases out there. I'm not waiting that long.
I don't think we could wait that long. It's like a year and a half.
Well, if they don't like all of the protests now, they let this thing go another month, they're going to be in serious trouble.
Midsummer, it's going to be really hard to keep people indoors on midsummer.
At least the beaches are open.
Yeah, but you can't park. The boardwalk's closed.
My little park is still locked up, though, in my neighborhood.
Is it really?
Yeah. So I just run around in circles in my backyard, making rant sounds.
Paul Dyke fires up his new car that he's going to race. Wouldn't you know it? He's been out of racing. How many years has he been out of racing? A couple of years?
I can't remember the last time he did a limited schedule with a pony. That was 3 or 4 years ago.
So now he's coming back full season.
No, you're not.
And he can't run. No, he's racing around the service department at the dealership.
That's awesome.
You got to be careful when you walk out between cars. You can see Paul coming around all sideways, kicking it up, just having himself a
Can you blame him?
No, you really can't. You really, 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 really can't. So,
the good thing is they've opened up a couple of motorcycle tracks. So the motorcycle, once you get motorcycle going, then that's the start.
Yeah, I think Glen Helen opened up last weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
I haven't checked Paula's schedule yet either. See if Paula, motocross track there is open. Paris said that they were opening their motocross track. So that's the start of it.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing about Paris, it's just like Barona. You can spread the fans out. Tremendously at both facilities, either on the hills or at Paris. You've got It goes all the way from turn 4 to turn 1, and there's tons of room, and separate bleachers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wish we had the powers to be, to make that.
If I was in charge.
If I was in charge. Where have you heard that one before? So, hey, have you been standing in the mirror practicing announcing?
Yeah.
No.
Nah.
What do you mean, nah?
I don't even watch those videos now. I don't know. It's like one of those things I can't critique myself. I don't like listening to myself kind of thing.
Dude.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
You and me both. Because once it's done, once it's out of the can, it's out of the can. You can't put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm too brutal on myself. If I hear myself, make a mistake. I mean, I don't even listen to my own shows. That's how bad it is.
You would go nuts if you started critiquing yourself.
I know people that do it, and they're not playing with a full deck today, but that's another story. What are you gonna?
I don't rehearse my stuff because then it sounds like you've rehearsed it and it's all practice. If you just can free flow with anything, just go with it.
Well, we got a guy at KUSI, and when a guest comes in, he says, "Okay, what are we going to talk about? What are the questions you want to ask?" And I just bite my lip and say, "You know what? If you just don't ask him and go with it," and he's doing it for himself, the reporters don't know. But the guest is, and if they've never been on TV before, now you're making them go through the whole dissertation, and now they're going to have to try to go through it again with somebody different and keep that enthusiasm. I don't know. I think, just like you, when you interview a driver, you don't want to talk to him before you talk to him. You want to talk to him live right then and there.
It's more spontaneous if I can be like, let's just figure out what we're going to talk about as we're talking. And a lot of times it's like if you start talking to people, they get freaked out. They're like, I can't do this. I can't talk in front of anybody,
Right.
They'll look at the stands and like, just look at me. It's just me and you talking. And that's how I get a lot of people calm them down. It's just like us. You just talk to me, not think about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
drivers.
You can have people that are like.
Well, and that's what I tell people too. I said, whatever you're going to talk about, you know more than the people that are listening. So even if you're not right, no one's going to know. Really, when you come right down to it, but no, but some people can do it. That's just like some people could teach and some people can't teach.
Very true.
Because you have to have a certain mentality to be able to talk to all levels of intelligence. And
just go with it sometimes.
Yeah, and do it in a way where you're not embarrassing anybody.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do. It's like, what are you, a rock? Come on, you don't understand what 1 + 1 is?
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
That's what they did to me. I'll teach them.
But as Dirt Dude said, patience too.
Yeah, patience. Yeah.
But drivers, we have to be careful. You walk by Dirt Dude sometimes, he'll just snatch you up. Hey, and throw that microphone
Throw
in
that
front of your
mic
mouth.
in your
I was
face.
just going to get nachos, Dirt Dude.
Nope, not this time you're not. You're talking to me and everybody else.
No, but it's good.
I got time to fill. Let's do something.
It's great. We were talking about iRacing during the commercial break, and one of my comments was, it's more fun when you know somebody that you're watching. And so that's the beauty of you interviewing the racers, especially if it's before the A-main. Then you can let the guys and girls in the stands know who you're watching for and what you're watching for.
Right. Like no pressure on that driver not to mess up, right?
It's just fun. I'm sure everyone in the stands appreciates it.
I'm sure they do. All right, Dirt Dude. Hey, well, go whack that grass. I did mine already, and it looks lovely.
Got to keep it going. So hopefully there's a time I can forget about it and go racing.
Yes.
There you go. All right, well, we're going to be right there with you, brother. BaronaSpeedway.com, folks. Make sure you check them out. All right, buddy. Take care, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, you guys stay safe and sane.
Thank you. This is FM 96.1, AM 1170. The Answer.
Lies, deceit, dirty looks, and the things they like to say. It's the curve that made your
And by the way, I want to thank Britney for coming into the station with me today. It's always a blast when I've got somebody to banter with. And plus, she's a big-time racer. And you've got...
Big time.
It gets pretty boring trying to talk to you, too, here, Dave. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, talking to myself, too, doesn't usually fly very well. So, hey, you brought the first guest we had on at 3 back at 3:45. For the people that just tuned in, who is it?
This is Frock Star, Joe Frock. Big character, so he needed 2 segments.
Oh, is that what well, you know who I bumped? Doug Herbert.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
NHRA.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
No. That's perfectly okay because Dougie's going to call in tomorrow.
Okay. Go ahead.
We're not on air, but he's calling in. He doesn't know.
Okay.
He'll never figure it out.
You know, he's the final piece to this puzzle I've been putting together, by the way.
Really?
Frockstar.
Okay.
Because, as I mentioned, everyone had their eyes on Ryan Winter, your guest from last month, and Darren Brown, our local boy.
Right.
But people forgot about Joe Frock for some reason. I'm sure Joe and his camp did not.
No.
But, I mean, I had to bring closure to this because those two were going back and forth, and then in the end.
All right. So, Joe, did you like being kind of in the wings, just doing your thing?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, in the Western states, you can drop a bad race if you have a bad race, and it's kind of the way the points went. I didn't go up to Cottage Grove just because I had work commitments, so I only raced the minimum, which was the 5 races, and those guys ended up dropping some bad races that they had, so I didn't have the luxury of dropping any of the races that I raced. So when they added them up, I knew I had to win the last national of the year to even have a chance, and we went out and won, and those guys just didn't do what they needed to do, and surprise ending, and it was kind of fitting for me because I try to fly low under the radar when I can, but no, it was enjoyable. It was bittersweet because after Friday night I was like, boy, if those guys have any kind of bad luck, I'm going to win this thing. And everyone kind of laughed, and then it came true the next night.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, but I heard that you're a true gentleman. You actually mentioned them in your acceptance speech, which I think that's being a gentleman.
Well, I think we're all pretty respectful of each other. I mean,
Sure.
those guys are, the guys that we race with are amazing. Brittany
Yes.
could attest to this, but
Yes.
I mean, Darren Brown and even like Darren Bryn and Ryan Winter, Ryan Diotti and Sean Jones. I mean, they're the top of, the dwarf car racing world. And it's to race with those guys is just amazing in itself, but to compete with them and have their respect and, even to hang off the track with them.
Yep. Campfire.
It's remarkable. Because those guys have great personalities that are fun to hang out with, but you get them on the track, and everyone wants to beat everybody.
Sure. Well, your mincemeat for next season once you get started, because you snuck up and took their trophy.
Oh, well, they're likely to keep an eye.
You think they're gunning for him now?
On you.
Hey, if you see anybody, if you see anybody put a bullseye on the back of your dwarf car, rip it off as quick as you can.
No, it's nice. I'm the kind of person that could come back the next year and still won't be the favorite to win, so that's okay.
Well,
I like that.
For the listeners out there that don't know, I told Dave, Joe could be racing in the vet division, and he chooses to continue to race against the young guns. And I have personally thanked you. I'll thank you again, Joe. Thank you for staying out of the vet division.
Yeah, she doesn't want to see you anywhere near it.
Really appreciate it. So to the listeners out there, there's the pro, and that's usually the young guns. And then there's us vets who are, I don't know, the older pros. And then there's sportsmen, the experienced pros.
There you go.
The gray-haired pros. And Joe could be in the vet division, but he chooses to still be with those young guns, and I admire that.
Yeah. So why do you choose to do that?
I don't see myself as old yet. I don't want to come to grips with that fact, but I don't know. It's guys. I don't know. They keep me young. I mean, it's funny where you got someone like Darren Brown he's like 22, 23, and like I consider him a really close friend. And his dad, Bobby Brown, I'm probably closer in age with, and I'm friends with him too.
Yeah.
So it's weird having friends on both ends of the spectrum, but. No, I just tell myself as long as I can compete at the highest level,
which he can,
then that's what I'm going to do.
So, since you're now an old guy, are you going to stay in the dwarf division? I mean, do you have aspirations to moving up to something bigger and faster and more expensive?
No, personally, I don't see myself. At least I'm not going to pay for that. But no, I don't, it's funny is I don't consider the dwarf class like a starter class or a move class. I mean, because I went from modifieds to dwarf.
Right.
So, I consider them all equal unless you're racing World of Outlaws sprint cars or USAC or, that's a step up when you're driving for someone else's team and getting paid to drive their stuff.
Yes.
Then that's a step up. And if that ever came my way, sure, I would love to. But for right now, I'm real happy with what I have and the team I've built and just the success we've had in the dwarf car.
Right. Well, and as long as you're having fun, because, when you were in the other divisions, it wasn't quite as much fun as, as you mentioned, it gotten a little bit cumbersome. But it seems to me like you found your niche.
He's got himself behind a nice wheel, too. Do you have a new car for 2020?
I do. We just built a new 2020 chassis.
Yeah, so I don't see him walking away from this, Dave. Dave always asks me, what do you want to do next? What do you want to... I go, my heart is with the dwarf cars.
and if you're nice, maybe you'll get his old car.
I'm really happy with mine, but that's a nice thought.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Do you have power steering?
That I could just throw in. Do you, Joe?
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I don't have power steering.
Attaboy. What?
Oh.
I don't feel like I need it. I don't know.
Shocked.
I don't need it.
Well,
I didn't think I did.
See if we're on the same track, Joe. When you don't have all of these, comfort features, I think you're closer to the track. You could feel it better. You can, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like you could be, corny as it sounds, more one with the track when you don't have anything inhibiting what it is you're trying to feel.
I agree 100%. I feel a lot in the steering wheel, just like you feel it in the seat. Mm-hmm. And it's a combination of the both, the front and the rear. But I've never driven with power steering, but Darren Brown and Ryan Winter both have power steering, and those guys do very well. So they seem to find a way to feel their car just fine.
Well, and I know they've driven probably both non and with power steering.
Yes,
so
they have.
That'd be a good, guys to get on just to get a different perspective of it. But no, I'm kind of like you too. I like, I want to get as close to the car and the ground as I can.
Yeah, if I can muscle a car around, I have no problem with it. But in their defense, those guys, they're kind of skinny and, their arms.
That's their defense. Sorry, Joe.
No bacon sandwiches for those guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's the ticket. More bacon sandwiches, the stronger you are to drive your car.
I think I know your secret. And you said I could bring this up. What do you do in staging, Joe? So I told Dave I'm starting to ask people about their superstitions, and it cracked me up when you told me what you do. And this might be why he has that extra strength.
What do you do?
Normally you can find me taking a nap and staging.
Right.
His
eyes are really big right now.
My nerves.
Oh, you know who else used to do that? Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, see, there you go.
Oh, my God. Joe, this has been an absolute blast. I knew when Britney asked me if we could have 2 segments for you, I went, really? And now I understand it totally. So,
you're like, we're going to bump the NHRA guy for this?
How about that, huh? Hey, buddy. And it was well worth it. You have been an absolute joy, and can't wait to talk to you down the road, and we'll shoot you off some stickers for your race car.
Well, just want to say thank you for having me on, and it's radio shows like this and you, Dave, that just keep motorsports alive and well.
Well, I take that as a true compliment coming from you, and I love having Britney in studio, and we'll talk to you down the road, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
You too.
This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.